This happened a few months ago when I lost my job as a graphic designer. I was trying to pay the bills and keep my mind busy. I thought freelancing through Craigslist would help. I found myself in a busy urban neighborhood filled with art and people. Cafés were buzzing, and I thought I might meet interesting clients. I still can't shake off my first encounter. It felt really off. I entered a dim cafe that smelled of roasted beans. I found a corner table. It seemed like the perfect spot for a meeting. I noticed a man at the next table looking over at me. He had dark circles under his eyes and was scribbling on a napkin. I thought he might be an artist. I raised my hand to say hello. Suddenly, he stood up and left the napkin behind. I picked it up. The sketches were creepy, faces twisted in strange ways. A chill went down my spine. I didn't know if I should laugh or be scared. Things got stranger in the following weeks. I met a woman through Craigslist who claimed she could see my future. She looked into my eyes and told me to be careful. "You're being watched," she whispered. I felt uneasy, but I didn't take her too seriously. Maybe she was just trying to grab attention. Still, her words stuck in my mind. Then I met a guy who said he knew my mother. He hung out with her years ago during an art show. I smiled, but a knot twisted in my stomach. I didn't want to talk about her, especially with someone trying to connect through her. I tried to change the subject. He kept staring at me. I felt uncomfortable and left that coffee shop. It was disturbing to think someone was playing a game. Next, I met a group selling an old video camera. They were really pushy, like they were trying to get rid of something. I looked at the footage. It was dark and filled with flickering images of a back alley. My heart raced. I said I wasn't interested, but they insisted I should buy it. They acted like it held some kind of secret. I started to think these encounters were linked. I felt drawn to figure it out, but also terrified. Each strange meeting made me question my own reality. Were these strangers connected to my past? Or was something darker at play? Then one night, lying in bed, I heard a whisper outside my window. It kept repeating my name. I turned to look, but nobody was there. I felt cold. I needed to figure this out. What did they want from me? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being pulled into something I didn't understand. I stared into the darkness, heart racing, waiting for another whisper. The following day, I decided I needed some answers. I grabbed my jacket and headed to the cafe where I first encountered the man with the creepy sketches. Maybe I could find him again, or at least gather some clues about what was happening. When I arrived, the cafe appeared the same as before, but a heavier weight pressed on my chest. I scanned the room, my eyes darting from table to table. No sign of the man. Instead, I noticed a woman in the corner, her hair unkempt, staring intently at me. She clutched a stack of papers, and I could see her lips moving, murmuring to herself. I approached her cautiously. "Excuse me, do you need help?" She looked up, her eyes widening. "You shouldn't be here," she said in a hushed tone. "They're watching you." "Who's watching me?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "The ones who see through the darkness," she replied, glancing around as if terrified. "You need to leave now." I backed away slowly, the urgency in her voice sending chills down my spine. I thought about the woman from before, the one who warned me, and a knot tightened in my stomach. I decided to leave the cafe and walk through the nearby park, hoping to clear my head. The sun was shining, but a cold breeze swept through, heightening the sense of unease that lingered around me. I remembered the flickering images from the video camera, and my heart raced as I retraced my steps through the crowded paths. Suddenly I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, but no one was there. I quickened my pace, glancing over my shoulder. I could feel the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It was as though the world was holding its breath. As I passed a small pond, I noticed something on the ground. It was a piece of paper. I bent down to pick it up. It was a ripped page from a sketchbook, the same style as the napkin I had taken from the cafe. The faces in the drawing were eerily similar, twisted and haunted. That's when I saw it. Tiny letters scribbled at the bottom. "Find me where the shadows weave." I felt dizzy as I stood up, the words echoing in my mind. What did it mean? Was it a clue? The sense of being watched settled back over me, thick and suffocating. I rushed home, my mind racing. I needed to uncover what was going on, but I felt like I was in way over my head. The whispers, the warnings, the strange connections, all of it was too much. That night, as I lay in bed again, restless and anxious, I heard a knock. It was soft at first, then became louder and more insistent. My heart thudded in my chest. Someone was at my door. I glanced at the clock. Too late for visitors. I swallowed hard, creeping to the door. Adrenaline surged. When I opened it, the hallway was empty, but on the floor was an envelope, unmarked and ominous. I picked it up, feeling the weight of an unknown threat. What now? I had to know who was out there, watching me. And somehow, I felt like I was about to step deeper into the darkness. I stepped back into my apartment, the envelope tightly clutched in my hand. The eerie quiet of the hall felt suffocating. I could feel the tension in the air, as if the walls were listening. As soon as I closed the door behind me, the room seemed even darker. I slowly sat down on the couch and placed the envelope on the coffee table. My hands trembled. I scanned the room, half expecting someone to burst in through the door, but everything was still. The envelope was unmarked, which sent a shiver down my spine. My curiosity won out over my fear. I carefully peeled open the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper covered in cramped handwriting. It read, "Meet me at the corner of Maple and 6th, midnight. Don't bring anyone. Trust no one." I stared at the words, the anxiety building inside me. Who had sent this? Why should I trust them? The warnings of the woman in the cafe replayed in my mind. I thought about the sketches, the sense of being watched, and the cryptic note. It felt like a trap, but part of me was drawn to it. I needed answers. The clock in the kitchen ticked away the minutes, each tick sounding louder than the last. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to ignore the note, but a deeper instinct pulled me toward it. Finally, I grabbed my jacket and left, my heart racing as I headed into the night. The streetlights cast long shadows on the sidewalk, making the nighttime world feel even more surreal. I walked briskly, keeping my gaze ahead. The idea of being followed lingered at the edge of my mind, but I refused to look back. I rounded a couple of corners trying to memorize the route for the return journey. When I reached the corner of Maple and 6th, there was an unsettling emptiness. My eyes darted around looking for any sign of life. Just as I began to feel foolish for coming, a figure stepped out from behind a nearby tree. My heart dropped. "Are you here?" the figure asked, their voice barely above a whisper. It was a man, his features obscured by the darkness. I took a step back, scanning my surroundings. "Who are you? Why did you want to meet?" "I know about the sketches," he said, leaning closer, the streetlight flickering above us. "I've seen them too." "Seen what?" I demanded, my nerves firing. "The darkness," he replied, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "And the ones who watch. You're in danger." Just then I heard footsteps behind me. I felt my stomach drop. They were here. I turned to look, but the street was still empty. The man grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "We need to go. Now." Before I knew it, he was pulling me into an alley, deeper into the shadows. My blood pumped with fear as I glanced back. A chill ran down my spine. This was the moment I had been afraid of. The darkness was closing in, and I was right in the middle of it. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the street as a figure emerged from the shadows. "You can't escape," they yelled. I hadn't even seen them coming. Panic surged through me as I turned to run. Everything around me felt surreal, but I couldn't stop now. The darkness was alive and it would devour me if I let it. The alley was darker than I expected. The man dragged me deeper into the shadows, a tight grip on my arm. I could feel his breath quickening, and it sent a wave of unease through me. I needed answers, but I also needed to think. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice shaking. "Just someone who knows," he said, glancing back towards the street where the shouting had faded. "We can't stay here. You need to understand what you're dealing with." His urgency stirred something in me. I didn't know if I could trust him, but the risk of what was out there felt greater than the threat of him. "What do you know?" I pushed. "What is happening? What darkness?" He led me to a corner of the alley, where a shadowy vault door protruded from the wall. My heart raced as we huddled behind it. "It's not just the darkness," he started, his voice barely a whisper. "It's what's hiding in it. They've been watching you. The sketches." I felt a sharp breath catch in my throat. "The sketches? How do you know about those?" His eyes widened and he leaned closer, the dim light revealing his anxious expression. "Because I've seen them too. You're not the first. Others have tried to uncover the truth. They didn't make it." Fear twisted in my stomach. "What do you mean? Who are they?" Before he could answer, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the alley. My pulse quickened as I exchanged looks with him. His expression turned grim. "We need to go. Now." He moved suddenly, pulling me along as he ran further into the maze of darkness. I stumbled to keep up, desperately trying to process everything. "What do you mean others didn't make it?" I gasped as we turned another corner. "They take people. They can sense when someone is close to finding out the truth about them," he explained, urgency coloring his tone. "We need to find a safe place to talk." I was overwhelmed. My mind raced with questions. What truth? Who are they? The man's grip on my arm tightened as he pulled me into a small doorway, seemingly concealed by a dumpster. "In here," he urged, pushing the door open and stepping inside. The air was stale and heavy. I squinted to try and make out my surroundings. A small room lit by a flickering bulb revealed old newspapers scattered across the floor, all bearing eerie headlines about disappearances in the city. "People thought it was just a myth," he continued, eyes scanning the doorway. "But it's real. They've taken people like you before. You have to believe me." Then everything shifted. A loud crash reverberated outside the door. My heart raced again, every instinct screaming for me to flee. "That's them!" the man shouted, the panic surging in his voice. "We have to act now!" I barely registered his words before the door creaked ominously. A shadow loomed outside, and I felt a chill run down my spine. My breath caught. "Do you believe in the darkness now?" he asked, his tone shifting from urgent to terrified. That was when I realized there was no way out. The shadow at the door shifted, a figure pressing against the light. My heart raced as I felt the man beside me tense. "Stay quiet," he hissed, his voice barely above a whisper. I held my breath, feeling the heaviness in the air like a tangible force. The figure at the door lingered, crouched low and breathing heavily. I could nearly hear the thoughts racing through my mind, each more frantic than the last. Then silence fell. I felt a twist of hope, but it faded quickly as the shadow moved, appearing to peer inside the room. The flickering bulb cast a weak glow, illuminating just enough of the figure's features to show a gaunt face and hollow eyes. Suddenly, the door swung open with a creak that echoed like thunder, and I stumbled back against the wall. The man beside me pushed me further into the shadows. "Run!" he shouted. With no time to think, I bolted past the doorway. I sprinted into the darkness, my senses sharpening with every heartbeat. I could hear the man behind me, shouting something I couldn't quite catch. I felt alive and terrified, my body driven by pure instinct as I careened through the darkness of the alley. I was aware of a presence behind me, hot on my heels. I glanced back just once to see the figure pursuing me, shrouded in shadows but relentless. "Turn left," the man yelled. I didn't need to be told twice. My feet hit the pavement hard as I swerved left and skidded, barely keeping my footing as I dipped around the corner. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins as I pushed my legs to run faster. We slipped into another alley, narrower and more confined than the last. My lungs burned as I stopped to catch my breath, but the man was already scanning the area. "We can't stop here," he said urgently. "They know we're close." "Who are they?" My voice was hoarse. My mind was reeling, still processing the chase. His eyes locked onto mine, wide with worry. "They're collectors, preying on those who seek the truth. You're not safe. Not yet." The weight of his words settled heavily in my chest. "And what about the others?" I forced out, my throat dry. "The ones who didn't make it?" He hesitated, the fear flickering across his face. "They're never found. It's like they disappear into thin air, just like the people in those papers," he choked out. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine as footsteps echoed again, distant yet growing closer. I glanced toward the alley entrance, the darkness feeling oppressive and full of threat. "Over here!" he hissed. He ducked into a doorway that blended into the shadows. I followed, feeling a mix of desperation and fear. This couldn't be our last chance. Inside, it was even darker. I could hardly make out the shapes of objects around us. He pulled me close, whispering, "If they find us, we won't stand a chance. We need to get out of the city." Panic washed over me. "Get out? We don't even know what we're running from." Before he could respond, there was a scuffling sound outside, followed by a chilling voice. "We know you're in there. You can't hide forever." My pulse quickened. Whoever was out there sounded determined. I backed into the shadows as much as I could, hoping to remain inconspicuous. My eyes searched the room for something, anything that could help us. That's when I saw it. A small window above, just wide enough for us to squeeze through if we were careful. I pointed it out to the man, who nodded sharply. "On my count, we jump," he said. 1, 2, 3. We both darted toward the window, my heart racing as I grabbed the ledge and pushed myself up, ready to escape. I struggled to pull myself through the window, my hands slipping against the cool metal frame. Just as I squeezed my body inside, I heard a loud crash outside, followed by a series of urgent shouts. My breath caught in my throat. "Go, go, go," the man urged, his voice a frantic whisper. I kicked my legs out and landed clumsily on the ground below, my knees hitting the hard concrete. I quickly turned to help him through, but the alley was lit up now, silhouettes moving closer to our hiding spot. With a desperate lunge, he wriggled through the window, barely making it in time before crashing feet first onto the ground beside me. "This way," he hissed, pulling my arm as we sprinted back into darkness. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Every muscle in my body screamed at me to run faster, as if the shadows themselves were hunting us. We turned sharply down another alley, and I could hear voices behind us, angry and frustrated, searching for us in the night. "I swear they're gaining on us," I panted, fear clawing at my throat. He shot me a glance, urgency etched in his features. "They know how to track down those like us. But if we keep moving, we might lose them." My mind raced with questions. I needed answers. What do they want? Why are they after people like us? His eyes darkened. "Truth seekers attract danger. The deeper we go, the more attention we draw." Through my panic, something he'd said struck me. Then what truth are we seeking? What is it so terrifying that they hunt people down? He didn't respond. Instead, he gestured toward a narrow staircase leading down into the earth. "There's a hideout down there. We can regroup and plan. Luckily, this place is frequented by those like us." Reluctance washed over me. "How do you know it's safe? What if this is a trap?" He looked desperate, as if my doubts were wounding him. "We don't have time. We need to move." Before I could argue, he grabbed my wrist, pulling me down the staircase. The air grew colder as we descended, my heart pounding in rhythm with the echo of our footsteps. There was a flickering light at the bottom, illuminating what appeared to be a makeshift room filled with old crates and worn-out furniture. "Here," he urged, pushing me ahead as he scanned the area for threats. Just then, a disturbing sound echoed from above. A heavy thud followed by the unmistakable sound of boots rushing down the stairs. Panic surged through me. "They found us!" I felt trapped as he shut a door behind us, locking it with a heavy bar just in time. "We need to barricade it." I turned to help, but that's when I noticed something odd in the dim glow of the light. Across the room sat a dusty old trunk, the lid slightly ajar, as if it had been recently opened. I walked closer, curiosity overpowering my fear. That's when I saw papers spilling out, words scrawled across them like cryptic warnings. "What are those?" I whispered, an uneasy sensation creeping over me. The man approached, his expression shifting from urgency to dread. He grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the trunk. Don't look. We can't. Just then, the door rattled violently, and a voice called out from the other side. You can't hide. We know what you're looking for. My heart raced. The words hung heavy in the air, promising danger as the shadows edged closer. There was no escaping now. Something was about to happen, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. The door shook again, louder this time. I pressed my back against the wall, my breath hitching as I exchanged glances with the man beside me. His eyes were wide, face pale, but determination flickered behind them. We need to stay quiet, he whispered urgently. They might think we're gone. I nodded, though fear twisted my insides. The rattling continued, each jolt feeling like a drumbeat of dread. My gaze drifted to the trunk again, the papers inside still looming like a silent invitation. I swallowed hard, torn between the urge to know what they said and the panic of our situation. Suddenly the voice from outside grew sharper. We know you're in there, just give up. This doesn't have to get messy. There was a pause, then a feral laugh echoed. Messy, I murmured while my mind raced. What could they possibly do? I tried to push the thought away, but I couldn't. The fear of the unknown was more suffocating than anything else in that moment. Listen, the man said, pulling me back to the present. If they get in here, they'll know everything. We have to find something to defend ourselves, or... He trailed off, dread tainting his words. I hesitated, glancing once more at that trunk. My hands felt clammy as I turned toward it again. What if those papers... What if they hold the key? He shook his head vehemently. No, don't even... Who knows what's written there? We can't risk it. But my resolve was building. Maybe the papers could help us understand what we were dealing with. I edged forward, knees trembling under the weight of fear. I knew it was reckless. I knew we didn't have time. But my curiosity swelled, and before I could stop myself, I unlatched the trunk and swung it wide open. The light flickered, illuminating the contents, pages filled with frantic scribbles, sketches of strange symbols, and half-formed sentences that set my heart racing. Words like mind control, hidden truths. The others stood out, pulsating with urgency. I gasped as my fingers hovered over the fragile parchment. Close it, he hissed, panic suffusing his voice. You'll ruin everything. I felt torn. But if this is why they're after us... He moved closer, urgency flooding his tone. We can't decipher it now. What if they come in? We've got bigger problems. Just then, the door shuddered violently again, the sound of splintering wood making my heart sink. You're running out of time, the voice shouted from the other side. Make this easy on yourselves. I snapped the lid shut, but dread settled in my stomach. What do we do? I whispered, feeling helpless. Help me find something to barricade the door, he yelled, scouring the room in search of anything that might help. I joined him. But the more time passed, the more my thoughts spiraled back to those papers. I had to know. That was when I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, not outside, but from behind us. My heart stopped as I turned slowly, dread gripping me like a vice. Someone was in the room with us. My throat felt dry as I turned, my eyes wide with fear. The shadows in the corner of the cramped room coalesced into a figure, a man who appeared as if he had stepped out of the darkness itself. He wore a hood, obscuring his face, and I couldn't tell if he was with the ones outside or if he was here to help. Who are you? I whispered, instinctively inching back toward the trunk. The man's head cocked slightly and he took a step closer, moving with a fluid grace that sent shivers down my spine. I'm not here to hurt you, he said, his voice smooth but low. I'm here for the same reason you are. My chest tightened. What do you mean? He stepped into the light and I caught a glimpse of his features, sharp jawline, piercing blue eyes that seemed to bore into me. I know about the papers. I need them. My eyes darted over to the still-closed trunk. You know what they say? He nodded, his expression grave. They're dangerous, more than you think. If they get into the wrong hands. He paused, letting the implication linger in the air. Outside, the doorknob rattled and my heart raced. What do you want with them? I pressed, trying to keep my voice steady. It's not what I want. It's what they want. He pointed to the door, fear flickering across his face. They know about the papers too. That's why they're here. The man beside me shook his head. We can't trust him. We can't. I cut him off, feeling a strange pull toward this newcomer. Wait. If you want the papers, you might have a plan. We could. Listen. We need to act fast, the stranger interrupted. There's a way out of here, but it requires every second we can get. I know where they're hiding. A part of me wanted to dismiss him. We had to get out of here. A barrage of thoughts flared in my mind, but the fear of being captured loomed over me like a dark cloud. I took a deep breath. Show us. He stepped back, motioning toward an exit that I hadn't noticed before, hidden behind a pile of debris. You have to trust me. We don't have much time. The door rattled again, louder this time. The man beside me looked at my face, his uncertainty pooling in his eyes. We can't go out that way, it could be a trap. But I saw something in the stranger's gaze, a fierce urgency that resonated with my fear. What's your name? I asked. Ethan, he replied, the name hanging between us like a lifeline. Then the door splintered again and a crack formed, just a hint of what was to come. Ethan, I said, if we don't leave now, we'll be out of options. You can either help us or not. As the door creaked open, adrenaline surged through me. I reached for the trunk one last time, a question on the tip of my tongue. I needed to know what was in those papers so badly, but I had to focus. Let's go, I urged, and together we sprinted toward the hidden exit, knowing that whatever was waiting outside might not be as bad as what we were leaving behind. The moment we ducked through, I realized we weren't out of the woods yet. Then everything went dark. I felt the air close in around me as I stumbled forward, disoriented by the sudden darkness. My instincts kicked in, forcing me to put one foot in front of the other. Ethan was beside me, a solid presence, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were running toward more trouble. Where are we? I whispered, anxiety creeping up my throat again. The darkness swallowed our voices. Even the outside world felt miles away. Just keep moving, Ethan urged, his voice low and steady, but it didn't help the unease churning in my stomach. I could see a faint outline ahead, a dim glow. The passageway opened up into a narrow alley, the cool air washing over me like a cold shower. I squinted against the low light, feeling my pulse pound in my ears. The alley was surrounded by high walls, with only a sliver of sky visible above. We were in a dead end. What now? The other man asked, panic threading through his tone. Ethan glanced around, his expression shifting into something more serious. We need to hide. They'll follow us through that door. Who are they? I demanded, though I already had a sinking feeling about it. I needed answers. The papers, Ethan, the mysterious threat. It all felt overwhelming. They're not here for a friendly chat, he stated grimly. Just then, the echo of heavy footsteps made my blood run cold. Without waiting for a response, Ethan grabbed my hand and led us farther down the alley, away from the glow of the streetlights. The darkness thickened, making it hard to see anything. It felt like a labyrinth, confining us with each step. Then I heard it. A sharp crack echoed through the air like a whip. I froze, my heart screaming. What was that? Stay quiet, Ethan warned, crouching down as he peered around the corner. I followed, trying to suppress the urge to bolt. My breath became shallow, each inhale feeling like an invitation for danger. Suddenly, he turned back to me, urgency washing over his face. There's a door at the end of the alley. It's our best shot, but we have to move fast. I swallowed hard, my instincts warring within me. What if it's locked? There's no other option, he insisted. We can't stay here. As we edged deeper into the shadows, I spotted the door he mentioned. It was distinguished by peeling paint and a rusty handle, seeking a glimmer of hope in this dire moment. On 3, Ethan whispered. I nodded silently, my hands trembling. 1, 2. Before we could reach 3, a muffled shout rang through the alley, and my stomach plummeted. "They're coming," I said in a near panic. "Now!" Ethan yelled, and we surged forward. I lunged for the handle, twisting it frantically. It turned with surprising ease, and I pushed the old door open, praying for safety on the other side. We tumbled inside, slamming the door behind us just as the echoes of footsteps grew closer. I leaned against the door, heart racing, but as I took a moment to collect myself, I suddenly realized something wasn't right. The room was dark, cluttered with dust-laden furniture. But it was the presence I could feel, pressing in from the corners, that made the hairs on my neck stand up. I wasn't alone. That's when I saw it. Something moved in the shadows across the room. A low, almost imperceptible growl rumbled in the darkness, sending chills racing down my spine. My heart pounded painfully loud in my ears as I squinted into the dimness, trying to discern the shape lurking within. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice wavering as dread seeped into my bones. "What's in here?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, I could see him hesitate, his body tense as he edged away from the door. "Stay close," he finally said. "We need to find a way out." The growl intensified, forming into a guttural sound that reverberated through the room. My instincts screamed at me to turn and run, but the clutches of fear bound me to the spot. "What is that?" I breathed, inching closer to him despite the terror swirling inside. Ethan shone a flickering light from his phone, cutting through the oppressive blackness. For a moment, the small area came alive with shadows that danced around us, revealing the remnants of discarded belongings, old furniture, and in the far corner, a glinting pair of eyes staring back. The source of the growl. My breath caught. It looked like a dog, or something resembling one, but its eyes were too human, too knowing, bearing an unearthly intelligence that felt entirely wrong. "We can't linger," Ethan urged, his voice strained. "Whatever that is, it's territorial." Territorial? My mind raced, recalling the warnings I had heard about watching the shadows. "What do we do?" He lowered his voice, urgency laced through his words. "There's an exit at the back. If we can make it past that thing." Before he could finish, the creature lunged from the shadows, teeth bared, and I yanked back instinctively. "Run!" Ethan shouted, then dashed toward a door behind the creature, his essential instinct for survival kicking into overdrive. I followed him, adrenaline propelling me as I bolted after him. The creature snarled, racing alongside, but we leaped through an old, weathered door just in time. The moment it closed behind us, I pressed my back against it, my heart hammering while I searched for any glimmer of hope in the chaos. A small, windowless hallway greeted us, dimly lit and narrow. There was no time to comprehend the danger we had just escaped. "This way!" Ethan shouted, moving quickly down the passage. I followed closely, the thrill of adrenaline mixing with lingering dread. "Where are we going?" I gasped out, struggling to keep pace. "To safety," he insisted, determination surging in his voice. "This place has an escape route through the tunnels. We just need to reach the access hatch." The hall twisted and turned, our footsteps echoing through the silence. Ethan's urgency pushed me forward, but every second felt like an eternity. As we turned another corner, we stumbled upon a small, heavy door set into the wall, a rusty latch holding it shut. "Help me," Ethan urged, thrusting his shoulder against it. Together we pushed, the door creaking open to reveal a space beyond. But the passage inside was even darker, seeming to plunge into an abyss. My instinct screamed for retreat. What if this was another trap? But before I could voice those doubts, Ethan's fierce blue eyes met mine, anchoring my panic. "We have to go. This leads to the exit." With a breath of conviction, I stepped through the threshold, stepping into the unknown. The moments passed in dread, silence but for the distant echoes that appeared to emanate from every direction, reminiscent of whispers I had heard before. Were they real, or just hallucinatory remnants of stress? As we ventured deeper, the path narrowed. Shadows in the corners flickered with movement, but I had no means to discern what lay ahead. "Keep moving," Ethan urged as he guided me further into the tight space. But then the whispers crescendoed, punctuated by the overhead echoes that seemed to answer our footsteps. "They know," a voice coiled around us, chilling my veins. They were always watching. It was the harshness in the voice, that sent apprehension prickling up my spine. "Do you hear that?" I gasped, the unease growing as strange flickering images danced behind my closed eyelids. "They're closer!" Ethan's expression shifted, fear rippling across his features. "We need to get out before they close in. Trust me." So we pressed on. With each step, the air thickened. I struggled to focus, caught between a sense of impending collapse and an irrevocable need to escape. Finally, we reached a newer, brighter space, where the passage expanded into a hall, and there, the sight before us pushed the bottom out of my stomach. A massive wall covered with those twisted sketches. "No!" I stammered, feeling the pull of dread wash over me. The faces twisted in torment mirrored shadows I had seen before. "Do not look at them!" Ethan hissed fiercely, pulling me away. "We have to keep moving!" He tugged me towards an opening that seemed to flicker with hope, light spilling from the surface. The moment we stepped closer, the whispers grew louder, louder still, turning into desperate screams. "They can't!" The urgency rang in my ears, almost drowning out reality itself. Ethan burst through the light, and I followed closely, crossing the threshold into an open field under a starless sky. The air felt refreshing, yet memories of that oppressive darkness lingered like a weight pressing down on my chest. I turned back to see the opening vanish without a trace. With every beat in my chest, adrenaline coursed through my veins. We had made it out, so why did I still feel like I was standing on the edge of something far more sinister? I still think about that alley sometimes, the encounters that pulled me into the darkness. Ethan and I managed to run, to escape, but the chilling thought that something had been waiting, or is still waiting, remains. I don't know what the sketches revealed, or why they were drawn, and I don't know if the darkness ever truly left with us. Perhaps it's still watching, still waiting somewhere beneath the veil of shadows. I've never gone back. I moved on to a different city, hoping to find clarity in the light. But those whispers, they haunt my thoughts, a reminder that sometimes what we can't understand can leave scars deeper than we realize. And sometimes, in the quietest moments, they call my name.